Esta conferencia comenzará a grabarse.
So, welcome everybody to this session of the European Alliance Against Coronavirus. As you know, we will record this session and it will be published both in the ECCP and in the channels of the European Cluster Alliance. So please be aware that if you stay with us, that will be recorded and reproduced later in internet, okay? Today we are going to study, list, and think about the obstacles to master the green and digital transition. And this is part of the exercise that we are doing in order to give to the EU Industrial Forum some hints from our side on how to improve the industrial strategy of the European Commission. So it's a very important meeting. And in order to speak about that, we will have with us Felix Arion from the Agro-Transylvania cluster. I don't know if Felix has joined us by now. Probably not. I don't see him. But I hope he will join us soon. Meanwhile, we will hear about the new ECCP. You know that the ECCP has launched the new platform, and in order to share with us that news, we have Veronica, because Rick is not with us still, no, Veronica?
He's about to join right now, but I can do the start. That's not a problem once he joins.
Oh, okay, perfect. So I will. Would you like to have the presentation rights, or?
I think Nina offered to share the slides for us, if that's possible.
Nina, I'm giving you the presentation rights. So we are seeing the presentation not in full mode yet. Okay, Veronica.
All right, perfect. So good morning, everyone. Thank you, Antonio, and the whole European Cluster Alliance for having us here today. I'm Veronica Müller. I'm part of the ECCP project management team, and I'll be joined hopefully any minute by Rick McHale, who is our cluster hub manager, so basically the manager of the newly launched website last week. So you can go to the next slide if you want. Yeah. So the ECCP has already existed since 2015. But we're growing and growing. Now we have around 1,250 registered clusters there. With our new website, hopefully this will grow in the numbers. We also have 58 registered cluster associations and networks. And with our new platform, we have introduced a couple more new profile types. So back then, in the old website, the ECCP only allowed registration of cluster organizations. But now we've expanded this target group to also meta-clusters, national cluster associations, European cluster partnerships also have a profile now, and members of cluster organizations, so SMEs who are part of your cluster organizations. And also further other stakeholders, whoops, just a step back, cluster policy and public and policy institutions, training providers, and we've also integrated the resource efficiency support actors under the European Resource Efficiency Knowledge Database, ERIC. Now you can go to the next. I think Rick is here now if you want to take over.
Welcome, Rick. Nice to see you here with us. Can you speak?
Yeah, hi guys. Can you hear me?
Yes,
hi,
yes.
yeah.
We are hearing
long,
you.
long time. How are you? Good.
Yes, truly.
We're
okay, I don't know if I should tell you Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Anyway,
Happy Chinese New Year. It's not late in the year. Thanks, Veronica. Yeah, I'll take over on this slide. So, yeah, no, we're pleased to talk about the new website. I know a few of you are already aware of it, of course. Some of the key features, new branding. We've been working on the cluster mapping. So we've done a lot more with that, a lot more with the logic and the way in which it works. So it's making for a much more exciting user experience. The in focus areas have been expanded out to include lots of other areas, but in particular the EU priorities and the industrial ecosystems. The cluster exchange tool has had a revamp and an upgrade, and we continue to work on that one with the cluster exchange support office developing the tool and developing the portal. There's lots more we've done with the capacity building webinars and the matchmaking events. One that's I know very of keen interest for yourselves, in particular on the call today, is the ERIC integration to boost the green transition. And obviously we're discussing the towards green transition, the technical assistance facility. There's a link in the slide deck which will be shared. And as we say here, much more. There is a huge amount more, but actually I won't get the opportunity, and Veronica won't get the opportunity to run through all of the new stuff and all of the new elements of the website, but I would encourage everyone, please have a look, take a look at the new website. It's the same domain name as before. We haven't changed that, so you can thank you, Veronica, there, she's just shared it for us. So yeah, it's in the chat, the clustercollaboration.eu. Take a look and tell us what you think. If you can just go on to the next slide. Great. So yeah, just highlighted the 4 steps for ECHA members, just in terms of increasing your international reach and visibility. So the most obvious one is step 1, which is to create your profile, but also to regularly update your profile as a kind of a key element for this website. If you update your profile, and you can update it to a level where you've kind of added in as much information as you can, it'll unlock the ability to create articles and events, so that that's a real sort of advantage, if you like, for using that and updating the profile, which is, yeah, as you can see, point 2. So uploading the articles, news, share the achievements, and announce your events. And then step 3, we'd always recommend this if you tag or use the hashtag ECCP in social media. It'll open you up for wider reach opportunities. And then point number 4, step number 4, if you set up your collaborative network via the partner search tool, if you use the matchmaking events, and then you can open out to contacting potential partners, and you can follow the open calls, etc. So there's plenty of key ways to optimize your profile, if you like. And if we can just go on to the next slide, I'm just going to run through very quickly how you register a profile. I'm guessing quite a few people on this call probably already have a profile, but if you're speaking to colleagues, people in the wider industry that perhaps haven't, you can just see how easy it is to create or register a profile. So yeah, top right hand corner of the website, there are 2 options here. If you're first time user, you can just click on the blue register button. If not, you can log in if you've done previously. If you had a profile on the old website, that's all been moved over. So there's no hassle. Just log in, use your email, username and password. If we can go to the next slide. So registering your profile. So I did it again yesterday. I reckon it took I did it in about a minute and a half at the most. So you enter your details in, you receive an email, and then you go back to the site. So you just add in your passwords, obviously keep it secure. You can add things like personal details, photo, the organizational details, etc., etc. And key, I think, is ensuring that you include in the profile what it is that you're interested in. So that might be, it's like a sector, so aerospace manufacturing I've put there as examples. And that's really good for opening out the collaboration opportunities, because it links then with other people that are using the site. And a key question as well, do you want to make your profile public? You have the option. You don't need to. Okay, we can go on to the next slide. Okay, and so then you'll be brought into the profile creation page where it details your personal information. But the thing I wanted to show you on this slide here is even after these 3 quick steps, you can immediately start working with using the private message function. So in here is contacts or potential contacts. You could search for them. The names will auto suggest or start to appear straight away. Send them a message, and yeah, just showing you very quickly there how quick and easy it is to start to make those connections. So if we can go on to the next slide. So that was it. Just very quick run through. As I mentioned before, it's the same domain name as previously. So do go and take a look. We'd encourage you to do that. Those of you who are active on Twitter, I'm guessing that's most of you, it's clusters_EU or at Eric_EU. I've also included the LinkedIn addresses there and the Facebook addresses as well. So part of the big push for the new website has been a rejuvenated marketing push as well. So the team are working on putting out fresh content pretty much every day, even in the case of Eric. So you'll always find new and interesting information, I'm sure. So that was it. Just ever so quickly today on the slides. I know we've got a busy itinerary for the rest of the day. So I just wondered if there's any immediate questions, or we may not even have time for questions. I'm not sure if we have to go straight into
Yes,
the
we
slides.
have time. It's perfect. Thank you very much, Rick. Does anybody has a question for Rick or Veronica? No, since that everything is
like
clear and everyone here is updating their profiles, I'm sure, Rick. So,
okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Antonio. Much appreciated.
Congratulations, because I know that it has been a long trip, so it's very good to see the new ECCP there working, and for sure we will use it intensively.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, that's good. That's good. Thank you, Antonio.
You're very welcome. So now it's time to go on with the session. Just one little note for those of you that doesn't know, we are collaborating with the task force on vaccine production. We created a survey at this moment, up to now, we have 171 answers. That's, I would say, a good number. But if there are more resources available for all the value chain related to the vaccine production, not only the production itself, but also the raw materials or the distribution. If you know about companies working on that, please don't hesitate to forward them our survey and to invite them to fulfill and to collaborate. Okay, so thank you very much on this point. And now is the moment to go to the main point for today. And so welcome, Felix. Thank you very much for joining us. Okay, and as you know, we will focus today's session in the obstacles to master the green and digital transition. So now, Felix, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning to everybody. Well, I will just ask you to make me host so I can make a short presentation from my computer. Yeah, now it seems that I can. Well, that's the presentation that I want to talk about. Well, the question of today, it is interesting. Which are the obstacles for creating something that European Union and most of us wanted, meaning how we can do this kind of connections between ICT sector and green sector and agriculture. Where agri-food sector, where our cluster is, it's a bit interesting because it has some particularities I want to emphasize today, and of course I will be more than happy to discuss them with you. I suppose that everybody knows at the moment about that industrial ecosystem that it was created last year in Europe by European Commission. I had the opportunity, based on the invitation, to work on the agri-food sector ecosystem actually in Europe, and to see how there are connections with the rest of the ecosystem. Well, one of that which is quite interesting, of course, it was how you can link this agri-food sector with ICT sector. So this is what I want to talk today. Well, very shortly about just one slide about Agro-Transylvania cluster. It's a gold cluster in agri-food in Romania, and we are interested to be in the future, as soon as possible, let's say, integrator pole of research, innovation, technology. So of course we are interested in technology, and we try to find how technology can be put it and used by our members, because that's the idea. So we are involved in different kind of projects to see how ICT and agri-food sector can work together. And I can say from the beginning, it's not a very easy task to do. And the results of today are based on two research projects we were involved. One is a track Cosme, which was just finished last year in November. And the other one, it was a work done by European Commission, Joint Research Center, which was interested in review of industrial transition in Romania, and I was asked to represent the possibility of digitalization agri-food sector. So we had hundreds of meetings with different stakeholders from ICT and also from agri-food sector, from government, for research institutes, from universities, from different areas. So we started from a couple of questions, actually 5 questions to be honest, and we discussed about how do you think, for instance, the agriculture business, it's interesting to adopt ICT. Seems to be a very easy answer for that, but it's a bit complicated from that point of view. Also, we are interested to see if the companies from agri-food sector can find solutions adapted to their needs. The third question, it was to see what kind of thing the agri-food sector have in mind when they are choosing an ICT company or a software provider. Also, the fourth one, what kind of special aspects are you requiring from an ICT, are you expecting? And finally, if there is any kind of adjustment between the supply and technological demand on the sector. Well, the results were quite interesting. Well, from the beginning, we just seen almost everywhere, except some very specific agri-food sector, like ecological, for instance, where they say, no, we need our old and traditional technology. We don't want to go to new ones. But beside those, almost everybody is interested in adopting ICT sector. Well, but this is not so easy to adopt this ICT because, well, all the time say, yes, we need, but we want that ICT solutions to be adapted to our company. And that's quite complicated into that point of view, because it was seen that on the market you can find a lot of solutions available from different providers, from different companies with different specificities. And most of the managers in agri-food sector are actually confused, and they have no idea how to choose it. So most of the time they are, I don't know, just choosing which one is the most closer to them, or the one which was recommended by somebody. It's more or less how most of us are, or most of the consumer are choosing the, I don't know, mobile phone providers. So that's not very clear for them which are the best one. Also, the managers feel like it's extremely complicated to find solutions which is not general but really adapted to their companies. You know, agri-food sector and almost each of the farm are really different one to each other, and they are not only different, but they have different specificities, and they have different, because as you know, agri-food it's actually dealing with biological resources which are not exactly similar like in other industry. So they feel like they need that kind of ICT solutions which are really dedicated to their companies. And most of the times they have no idea that ICT can provide, that ICT sector can provide that kind of solutions, because they have no real discussion with them. And the big problem, probably one of the biggest problem, is that if you have a dedicated solution for your company, you have to have a dedicated person, specialist in digitalization, to work with that solution. And that generally involves quite high costs, because, you know, the people from ICT have generally much higher salaries than the person which are working in agri-food sector, especially on the farms. That's absolutely normal. And that gap between the salaries seems to be really, really high, and generate a lot of problem for the companies. Well, but we want to do it, but can we find solution for that one? Well, it seems that ICT companies are interesting, but they are interesting in very large companies. They are interesting in companies which are, let's say, more or less created large value chains, that are going to be more easily implementing different kind of solutions, and of course the ones who have money to invest in ICT. And well, most of the farms from Romania, and when I say most of the farms, please understand more than 95% are small companies, and they are not having those kind of solutions. Also, there is something else interesting now at the moment, is that ICT companies, which are smart guys, I suppose, and everybody knows that, they feel and they know they are dedicated funds, projects and programs dedicated to agri-food sector, and they are dedicated, in fact, to digitalization of that sector. So they are started to look more carefully to that sector, and to find those kind of manager which are interesting to move on. The third part, it's quite an interesting one. What are you asking, you as a manager in agri-food sector? And if there are ICT managers here, please take notes, because that was one of the most discussed problem, actually. Well, let's say me as a manager in agri-food sector, I will be more or less interested in that kind of companies which can prove me they had in the past similar projects, and they have previous experience with similar companies, so they prove me they have good results. Because otherwise, for me, as an agri-food sector manager, I do not really understand what is happening into ICT, and some of them are really confusing me with their words. Of course, I will like to try your solution before I apply it. I want to just testing if it's possible to use a demo solution, some software, to see if they are dedicated to my problems, and to see the results not only on 1-2 days, but on longer period of time. You know, the cycle in agriculture, it's more or less related with 1 year. And you see in just 1 year, if the solution that you check it and you select it, it's dedicated to your company. But probably the most difficult problem is that one of empathy. Actually, the companies from ICT are not able all the time to understand the needs and to adapt the solutions exactly how the company's needs. And sometimes that kind of adaptation of solution is really, really costly for the farms, and from that point of view, they feel it like being absolutely prohibited. So it is really important into the same times, and bigger company actually here in Romania, in Cluj, are already done it. They are starting to employ different kind of persons which have a background and experience in agri-food sector. And those are dedicated specially to develop this particular sector. I know that because I'm working also as a professor in agribusiness in one of the university in Romania. And actually those companies are coming to me and ask to recommend good students with skills, of course, in ICT, which want to work with them to, let's say, to create and develop that sector into agri-food. Because the most of the time there is a very, very big problem, extremely complicated problem between the guys from ICT and the guys from agri-food sector. They are not speaking the same language. Generally, I don't know if it's the same in your case, but in Romania, most of the guys from ICT are using English terms almost regularly, even if they have quite easy, understandable Romanian terms for that. But for them, it's probably much easier to use English. And of course, the managers from agri-food sector are absolutely confusing, and they're not able to understand what they are saying. So generally, that kind of buffering, which I presented to you before, those guys which are able to understand both languages are really required from that point of view. Well, the fourth one is actually what you are asking for those companies, what you are wanting to do in this collaboration. And everybody agree that we want to work together because we want to make money. Both of us, we want to have profit, to be a mutual profitable collaboration, both for ICT companies and of course both for agri-food companies. The problem is that in the end, when you are just making the calculation, it seems that most of the time, especially if you are using a project, for instance, development project, most of the money goes to ICT sector. Because, you know, the salary per hour for an ICT sector is much higher than salary per hour for an agri-food sector. Also, the technology required, it's more expensive, something like that. So generally, there is, let's say, a feeling for the other companies, for agri-food companies, that most of the money, even if they are specially dedicated to develop agriculture, is not going to agriculture, but is going to ICT. Agriculture being just one of the channels to flow the money to other place. Most of the time, the companies from, or the most common requirement for the companies from ICT, from agri-food sector to the ICT sector is that they are needed strategic planning most of the time, and to have access and to have possibility to interpret big data, which is, of course, just in fact just a tool for strategic planning. So the farmers do not want somebody else to take decision for them. So they don't want a machine to decide for them. They don't want a computer or software to decide for them. But actually, they need additional information to rely their decision based on most possible available data, so to be sure their decision is the most appropriate one. Also, a big problem is that of labor in agriculture. You know that most of the guys, especially the young people, do not want to go to agriculture because agriculture is, well, dirty. Let's say it's different than working in the office. So especially for that kind of not very intelligent work, especially the work that is done on the field, it's quite difficult to find persons. So finding different kind of solution to replace that lack of labor, that will be a very good solution. So the different kind of robotization, of mechanization, and something like that will be absolutely vital for the companies. Also, of course, the most used one is that one of promotion and selling, and 2020, that's very complicated year from that point of movement of person. Actually, give a boost to online selling, and the agri-food sector developed that kind of solution of selling online and direct selling and something like that. And of course, probably one of the common, the most common solution is to cost control. So give me a different kind of solution to look of my company, to look of my firm, to look of my farm, to see where actually my money are not correctly spent, and how I can make that to be more profitable and more more interesting from that point of view. Of course, final question, it was, okay, we have problems, we have two different guys which want to work together, but sometimes they are not able to speak the same language. Can we make them work the same? And yes, we've seen that it's not so dark everything. There are some very nice experiences which are already done. And some digitalization in agriculture, in agri-food sector, which are absolutely astonished. And there are a lot of solutions now they are provided from different ICT companies, starting, of course, then with drones, which seems to be at the moment extremely used, because they give you information in real time, they give you information on the farm, they give you information from the soil, from different other sensors, so you don't have to spend half of the day just going and moving around your field to see what is happening. And that, of course, it's a very good use of the labor resources, and it's something that the companies actually want. But into the same time, and probably this is what I wanted to conclude, there is plenty of room for additional steps. So all the time it seems that there is somewhere the need of trying to moderate that interaction between the ICT companies and ICT and actually the companies from agri-food sectors. Sometimes they are not able to understand each other, so it is necessary to do it. And there are different kind of solutions. For instance, here in the northwest of Romania, we created a consortium of clusters, and they are an ICT cluster, and this is the agri-food cluster. So we are able to make different kind of connections very easy among the interest stakeholders from agriculture and stakeholders from ICTs, to provide a very direct connection from that point of view, and to speed up the process of digitalization. Also, a very common one is Digital Innovation Hub. And also here in our region, we are involved in creating a digital innovation hub with most of the relevant clusters into the region. Also to give solutions for that kind of connection that seems to be very complicated from time to time. But anyway, into the future, and we are trying now to understand that it's a process, it's an ongoing process. Well, agriculture 4.0, it's something normal now. I don't know, digital devices are interconnecting among them and provide you an overview of your company in just a couple of seconds. But that involves a lot of digital solution, the software solution, meaning robots, artificial intelligence, drones, sensor all over the place. So probably the agriculture will move on more and more to into the direction of industry. And well, that's normal because that's one of the solutions to be more green. You know, Europe wants to be more digital and more green, and agriculture, both of that are just working together very nice, because being more green means you are using less inputs, especially artificial inputs like chemical fertilizer and something like that. And that kind of digital solution in artificial intelligence is actually robots, digitalization, and sensors will give you exactly the exact quantities of different inputs that you have to use it in different region of your farm. So you are not using in excess that kind of chemicals, and everything is just absorbed by plants, which is normal, and they will not be accumulated into the soil, and that goes to pollution. So from that point of view, the idea is normal, the direction is very clear. The Green Deal actually of European Union is something that is moving on. But the big problem that we see in it all the time, in fact, it's that communication, it's a problem of communication. That's the subject of today's debate. It's that link of communication between ICTs companies and agri-food sector, because it's not very easy. They are not all the time compatible. If you are thinking about the farmer and thinking about an ICT person, you see you will have from the beginning two different persons, and sometimes they are not able to do it. And one of the solution from that point of view is that kind of ecosystem, to create ecosystem, so those guys to know and learn how to work together, to integrate one to each other. And of course, from that point of view, solution will be better and better, will they'll improve. Of course, we need money for this, and Europe seems to be quite interesting in offering that kind of solutions. In Romania, we are making at the moment quite big lobby to include that digitalization in agri-food, but not only in agri-food, of course, into the national plan for reconversion and resilience, which is now at the moment of finalizing in Romania. They will be around 30 billion euros, if I'm not wrong. So there are a lot of money, there are a lot of solutions, there are a lot of interest from both of the parts, but sometimes there is not the last deal. And well, the last deals, it seems that we as a clusters, we can do that kind of putting those guys together. Well, thank you for your attention. Of course, you have my details, my contact details, and I will be more than happy to provide you additional information, or why not to try to continue our research. Thank you, Antonio.
You are very, very welcome, Felix. Thank you. It has been very clear. So I will say that we need also to train the digital companies, no, the ICT companies, on speaking with the rest of the world. It's a very important point. I didn't thought about that. Yeah. At the end, it's upskilling and reskilling. In this case, from the digital world to the rest. You know.
Well, That's absolutely correct. That was the one of the biggest problem. There is not enough to invest for a company to invest in digital solution if you don't have a dedicated person to understand that one and to know how into the future you will develop your company, and you ask for solution that will be not solving your actual problems, but actually they are thinking about direction that you want to go from now on. And that's not easy. So yes, they're necessary training and to scale up the skills of the guys from the farms to know how to deal with this one. And generally the bigger companies all over Europe, not only in Romania, they are looking to that direction. There are companies quite well digitalized in Romania. I say farms quite well digitalized, but we are talking about the company with thousands and dozens of thousands of hectares, which is not the normal size of agriculture in Romania. So they are just a positive example, which cannot be replicated all over the place in Romania.
Okay, so thank you again. Comments or questions or challenges from the attendants. I see a comment from Elina. Welcome, Elina, from Moldavia.
Yeah, Elena just said that she
Yes.
said I have. Yes, Elena, please.
Yes, good morning to all. Good morning to everyone. And congratulations to Felix for this nice presentation. It's really adapted to the needs of agriculture and ICT, I think, but first of all to agriculture. And this is what we need in Republic of Moldova too. Now, I would be interesting to develop that information that Felix presented about the, let us say, lobbyism process regarding the digitalization in agriculture. Just how does it take place in Romania nowadays, and how do you appreciate this process?
Well,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Elena. As I presented before, we're working, and actually, it's not only me, the one who is working. Miss Pârvu, which is here with us, actually works for digital transition documents in Romania, which is in fact joint research. Common joint research unit of European Commission was interested in which kind of direction Romania has to go for digitalization. And of course, agriculture was one of the most important sector in Romania. And they asked me to provide some input from that point of view. So we had the possibility to meet people from ministries, from government, local government, central government, and to push them different kind of solutions from that point of view. Also, we are working not only from that point of view, we have a quite strong sector of clusters in Romania, and we have a national association of cluster, and we are making lobbies through that clustero associations. And also we are part in the committee of monitorization of rural development plan, and we are meeting quite constantly. But into the same time, as I told you, we are part of a consortium of clusters here, and most of the time when we want to make different kind of lobbies, for instance, I'm just have some meetings with my colleagues, with Bianca Muntean, for instance, from Transylvania IT cluster, which is a representative into digitalization sector in Romania, and they are making, let's say, lobby to support our thinking. So we are trying to do whatever we can, nationally and European level, to try to push the guys to understand that solutions. And of course, we are trying to mobilize actually our members and the sector of agri-food, which is extremely important in Romania.
Thank you, Felix. I am sharing at this moment the slide that was prepared by Nina on a summary of the bottlenecks that we have received through our survey on this point. And as you can see, this was prepared before your speech. There are many common points. Nina, would you comment?
Yes, I can quickly comment. So what we see here in from the answers that we have received through the survey is also to focus on the needs of the SMEs. That the SMEs first need the manpower to actually work on the green and digital transition, and that this also requires a lot of financial and labor resources that you've also referred to, Felix, in your own presentation. One point that I thought was interesting was about communication and change of mindset, because there might still be a lack of awareness for why do we need a digital and green transition, how do we communicate it efficiently to make it understandable, kind of going into the direction also between the communication of direct ICT companies and the companies that will apply the solutions, but also in a more general term, so that we also reach companies and industries that are not yet working towards this transition, and how can we include them in this general trend. And what is also a point that was made is that we need a deeper understanding of how digitalization is actually a tool for the green transition, so that we don't talk about them as two separate ways and points of development, but they're actually serving each other. What was also mentioned is that we need transfer structures to actually overcome any obstacles in the application of digital and green solutions. We need state-of-the-art pilot infrastructures, demonstrators, and shared facilities that are also open to access for the SMEs. So not only for big companies, but we make these structures available for the SMEs to actually look which are the solutions that are working for them. One point mentioned is age and technology dependence. So do we have all the knowledge here in Europe that we need, or are we still too dependent on foreign markets? And how do we finance the transition? Can we think of any new funding mixes, financial tools, joint investments, purpose-driven investments, to open up possibilities of how to finance, especially also for the SMEs? Who in the end have to pay a certain amount for this transition. And clusters can come in all of the points, but they also need to strengthen their capacity building to, of course, support this way to the green and digital transition. I think these are very good discussion points. I think a lot of people here in the audience also have an opinion on these points.
Thank you very much, Nina. I see a comment from Marta Perez. Marta, we could perhaps organize a presentation from your side, but I will invite you now to share with us what would you identify as the most important bottlenecks. Do you agree with those that has been discussed, or would you add any new bottleneck?
The question is for me, okay?
Yes,
Alice?
Marta.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
The main bottleneck in the industries, I think, is in fact, the lack of awareness, mainly towards the green transition, because our industry right now just understand that digitalization became profit. So for digital transition, it's easier to make the transition. For the green transition, I think it's the lack of awareness right now. But I think here in Portugal, here in the mineral resources industry, I think we already made some progress, not only in the digital transition, but also in green transition. We are working hard together with associations and the SMEs, and I think we already have some results. We have a problem as Felix, that no one, young people don't want to work in mineral resources. It's a dirty in the industry, and nowadays we are attracting people based in the digitalization, because it's more attractive to them. But it's a big problem for us. We don't have people to work in the mineral resources industry, and we need to attract not only people for mining and for mines and quarries, but also qualified people. Because we have here in Portugal a lot of SMEs that are already automatized and robotized, and their works mainly in natural stone is based in design. So we need to arrange a manner to attract people. And of course, for all of this, we need a structure of funding and money to help our SMEs to go to this new challenge of the transition. But I think we are in the right in the right rail for that.
Okay, so I understand that one of the critical points for the green transition, not so much for the digital, is to make the business case.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
As far as I understood, it's clear for the companies the investment of digital, because usually it pays off quickly, okay? But the investment in green perhaps needs to be better justified.
Yes, but I think here we are seeing that SMEs are very interested in sub-products and recycling, and I think the way is that way, because and they are also, because of the law, very interesting in the territory or to the land recovery. So I think we can strengthen that opportunity of the sub-products, that is new products for the SMEs, and the need of the land recovery. And I think if we can get that opportunities, it will be easier to make a green transition. And not everything is bad. We have a lot of cases, good practice about the green transition or circular economy, and there are some SMEs that we call the early adopters that are already they have already strategies, and we are mobilizing that ones to influence the other ones to the need of a green transition.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you, Marta, for your contributions. We have 4 minutes, something like between 4 and 6. Who wants to add to the discussion? Danny, welcome.
Hey, hello everyone. Very interesting discussion because this is a really big topic. I'd like to share a little experience that we had yesterday and also a little reflection that sometimes in order to see the adoption of ICT in the agricultural sector, we have to look outside of ICT and look more into the proper sector and the economy in general. Yesterday we had a conversation with the mayor of a small town, 20,000 people, that has a big problem because they do a lot of they raise like millions of pigs and chickens and turkeys a year, and this creates an environmental problem because of course there needs to be a good use to put the byproducts of the racing and also the organic waste from their upbringing, and the sector is more than happy to integrate any solution, be it ICT or whatever. There is some research also in the food that they give them because it creates less smell in the organic waste, and that is better for the environment in general, for the village and for everyone. So any type of solution, regardless of whether it's ICT, digital or not. If ICT and digital solve the problem, that's great, and they will be very happy to implement it. The thing here is that we were analyzing why is sometimes the slow adoption of these measures, and the problem is that many businesses and many people in general live paycheck to paycheck or live day to day. They don't have the capacity, as others do, to think in long-term investments. So sometimes adopting a technology is a really brave action for them because they are risking nearly everything they have, and if that step goes wrong, then they will probably take a big loss and a big hit, and it will be very difficult for them to recover from a bad experience of implementation. And we all know that there have been many technology projects that have gone bad because sometimes the seller just wants to sell the solution. They are not good integrators. There's no good change management consultancy or whatever. They just sell the product, and then they don't factor in the other processes that need to be undertaken, right? So we need to take into account also the dimension of who is making the investment, how long term they have to think about it, and how this can be considered into the proposals that we make to them in order to make them more attractive and more feasible, and also to manage the risk, because sometimes the key is not the cutting edge technology, but the risk management of the adoption.
Brilliant. I totally agree with you, Danny. Any solution, any digital solution must be fitted, must be adapted to the receptor. And that's one of the very big problems. I was in a meeting of our cybersecurity work group yesterday, and we were discussing about that. It doesn't make sense to sell you very expensive security system if you don't adapt them, if you don't update them, if you don't make them work properly. So it's the same point. Thank you, Danny.
Yeah.
Okay, it's time to close. Thank you very much to all of you for your contributions. Don't hesitate to send us more ideas. We need to close the series next Thursday, because next Thursday is the last day to submit our proposals to the EU Industrial Forum. So next Thursday we will review the answers for the 3 questions. Do you remember? The question on, sorry, what lessons have we drawn from the COVID crisis? How can the ecosystem and partnerships best help to address the challenges, and what are the biggest obstacles and bottlenecks? We will review the answer to those 3 questions, and we will also review some other proposals and contributions that we will propose from the European Cluster Alliance. So you are invited to join. Please join us, because it's very important, this exercise. It will really influence, we hope, in the future industrial strategy for Europe. Thank you very much. See you soon. Hope.